Alright, ladies and gentlemen, got a few videos that I gotta make today, as you do. So the first video I wanted to make, I think I'm gonna make three videos, like one right after the other. The first video I'm gonna make are just my plans for Classic WoW and TBC Beyond. The next video I need to make is a dungeon. I guess I need to make another dungeon tanking guide for Paladin because people are just not knowing what the heck to do, which is terrifying. And of course, I've got the characters to do that kind of stuff. What else is there to say? Oh, and then the last one I need to make is a PvP. Um, why I think the ranking system and holding it like back from phase one and stuff like that is not the greatest thing in the world. Instead, it should be rolled out in a different kind of strategy, in the sense that if it was up to me, for various reasons, I would let people rank to rank 10 in phase one. But I would limit the amount of pieces they can put on their character of rank 10 gear at any given point in time. So, for example, you might be in phase 1, you're rank 10, so you have access to 6-piece rank 10 gear, but you can only wear like 3 pieces of them during phase 1, and subsequently do the exact same thing for Blackwing Lair when it comes out with the rank 13 gear. I think that would be much better item progression and itemization. Especially when you factor in how useless some of the tier sets are for PvP, and how difficult it is for certain classes, and how difficult it is to actually get a hold of your tier sets, mathematically speaking. But I'll make a different video on that. So the first thing I wanted to do is make a video about my plans for Classic World of Warcraft Hardcore, or not just in general. It took me a while to figure out where the hell McConnell is. McConnell apparently is like a level 38 warrior and only fangs, and I was like, what the balls? I was asking around where the heck he is, and it took me a while to figure out that I could actually make both Horde characters and Alliance characters on the hardcore realms, which is very interesting. Um, so basically, what's happening with me is it's like, uh, I need a human paladin for TBC, but I need a dwarf paladin for Classic World of Warcraft, and it gets even weirder than that, right? It gets even weirder than that. Like let's jump on the PvP server here really fast. So I need a dwarf paladin for Classic World of Warcraft, and I need to be on the PvP server for Classic WoW, right? Obviously. But come TBC, flying mounts basically trivialize world PvP. They make it like incredibly stupid in TBC. So to the point where there's almost no difference in TBC, with you just running around on a normal server, like with your being PvP flagged, type slash PvP. And if you were actually on a PvP server in TBC. Now, while you're leveling and nobody has flying, yeah, it's a damn PvP server. But once everyone gets their mount, it's just kind of stupid. So my master plan here is to level a hardcore paladin as a human, and when she dies, she'll eventually transfer over to a normal Classic World of Warcraft server, and she will be the human paladin that I then take on into TVC. And then, of course, I have my dwarf Palatime over here for the PvP realm, and he's mostly going to gear himself out in PvP gear, if that makes any sense, like rank gear. Now, in my assessment, I'm not all that excited for Classic World of Warcraft. Like, as I'm leveling, it's growing on me a little bit, but I'm not all that interested in Classic WoW. The reason for this is because there's just not much left for me to do in Classic World of Warcraft. I am a Paladin player. I've pretty much explored everything. I've made all the guide videos. Like, there's just not much of an itch left to scratch there. However, there is one last thing I have to do in Classic World of Warcraft, and that is playtest in Classic WoW the Heal Reckoning build, the 925 17, basically like Ret Reckoning, like heal Ret Reckoning Paladin build. Basically, I've said this before many times, but the idea behind it, of course, is that you have 5 points in spiritual focus, giving you like 56% pushback immunity. You live in improved concentration aura, so that gives you 100% pushback immunity, but more importantly, improved concentration aura also gives you that 15% chance to ignore spell pushback, which is absolutely insane and amazing. Of course, you have 5 out of 5 Reckoning. You're missing a point in Improved Hammer of Justice. You can strip a point out of the Improved Hammer of here and put it there if you want to, or you can strip a point out of here, giving you, I think it's like 92%. 92% pushback immunity, and then you can put an extra point over here. There's some flexibility in your pointage, not that big of a deal. But you have Seal of Command to twist with your Wreck Bombs, and you have Eye for an Eye, which is absolutely insane and awesome. Now, when I came up with this idea for Paladin PvP build, what happened was it was during the middle of Era when Drakova was still active, and I can't remember what time period I came up with this, because there's some weird history here. And the history of Paladin builds basically is that for a long time we were doing 5-piece Avenger builds, and we were doing like 6-piece or 8-piece tier 2 builds. We were doing some Marshal hybrid builds. And at some point in time, Drakova basically casually mentioned in one of the Palicasts that I did that multiple Palicasts actually, that he thinks that just raw stats on a Paladin is BIS. And then I got up off my butt and actually, looked at it mathematically, and I was like, holy crap, we're actually raw stat gear on a Paladin literally increases the combat capability of your Paladins in Classic World of Warcraft by like 15%. We started coming out with that during Era, like early Era. And then I pissed off for like 6 months, and Drakova also pissed off for 6 months. And then we came back again in Classic WoW Era, and there had been a number of Paladins that were winning like server-wide dueling tournaments wearing all stats gear, like Naxxramas all stats gear. And when me and Drakova interviewed them, what we found is that they were wearing like 3-piece, 4-piece Avengers gear with random bits of nonsense on their Paladin that was literally just all stats gear. They weren't giving a flying F about the 5-set bonus of Avengers, which gives you a plus 70 spell damage and healing. They were literally just wearing 2-piece Avengers, 3-piece, 4-piece Avengers, for the sheer fact that it was just raw stats gear. Then you got gear like, Belt of the Fallen Emperor here, strength, agility, stamina, intellect, increased healing done by spells and effects. That's just me. You could easily find a different belt there. The Marshals gear in Classic World of Warcraft is basically all stats gear when you stop and think about it. Avengers Greaves, all stats gear. The Spauldrons of the Grand Crusader, that's when you know you're really fighting a scary Paladin. Anyways. Oh yeah, the Judgment Bindings. Just a very weird, interesting gearing. So, to my knowledge, I can't remember what happened first. Like, was it that I proposed this build to Drakova before the gearing revolution for Paladin? Or did it happen post the gearing revolution for Paladin? And the gearing revolution, of course, being that we're just basically have objectively determined that raw stats gear on your Paladin is just objectively superior to literally anything else that you can possibly do. What else is there to say about this? So one mission I have for Classic World of Warcraft is I have to test how good the Heal Reckoning build is. I think she is going to perform as this kind of weird hybridization between a Holy Reckoning Paladin build and a Ret Reckoning Paladin build. So, for example, let's back out of here really fast. We don't need to see that anymore. So, for example, a Holy Reckoning Paladin, 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 a Holy Reckoning no matter how well you build them, they can't really kill in the bomb all that well. They basically gain like tactical advantages from the pressure of their bomb, and then they convert that into a kill later on, right? But generally speaking, they can only take out like 90% or 80% of a target's life in a full wreck bomb, especially against mages. Holy Reckoning Paladins are lethal in a bomb if they can do the bomb in a 6-second stun, but it becomes class dependent. It's like how much armor do they have, blah, 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 blah. But as a general rule, Holy Reckoning has historically always been like 400-ish damage in their bomb away from being top tier, undisputed, best PvP Paladin in the entire game. They just don't quite have that oomph to get over the hump damage-wise. However, from a durability perspective, they are insanely durable. They have enough HP and mana and healing capability that they can survive long enough to put about 4 full wreck bombs into the enemy before they and die. I'm specifically thinking about like Paladin versus Mage when I talk about these scenarios. But the exact same thing plays out when you're fighting like a Shaman or a Priest or something like that. The reason for that, of course, is Illumination. Illumination is absolutely, it's a combination of a few things. The first thing is that Healing Light. Healing Light is ridiculously powerful talent in classic World of Warcraft on your Paladin. It's worth something stupid like plus 200 or plus 300 spell power for healing purposes, making your heals obscenely efficient. That's one of the reasons why, if you look at the gear here, I'm actually wearing a Belt of the Fallen Emperor. I've got, plus 30 healing enchant over here. I'm not neglecting my plus healing on this build whatsoever, because I know I'm missing the plus 12% healing from Healing Light. I know how valuable that is in classic World of Warcraft, especially if you're heal locked for whatever reason. But the combination of the free crit heal on a 2-minute cooldown, that right there is worth like, plus 600 mana on your Paladin. Absolutely ridiculous. On top of the fact that you have Illumination, you're going to get like 2 crits over the course of a fight, and Illumination's going to be there. So you're already looking at, damn near 2,000 more mana than you would have to play with otherwise, just due to Illumination and your free crit heal. If the fight goes on long enough for those, theoretical 4 wreck bombs, full wreck bombs you're putting in the enemy, you're going to be on like your 3rd divine favor at that point, and you're going to be looking at like 4 or 5 crit heals due to Illumination. That's one of the Illumination is just Illumination and the free crit heal divine favor are literally what is giving you a super deep mana bar. That's one of the reasons why the Holy Shield Paladin kind of sucks by comparison. There's a hybrid of like holy and deep protection that picks up Holy Shield, but when you play it, you just feel the loss of Illumination so hard, it makes you want to puke. It's like I despise it. Even when Drakova plays it, he's like, God damn, where the fuck is my mana? Right. So what I think about it is a mix of the two. What do I mean by that? So a Ret Reckoning Paladin, okay, because this thing that I'm proposing here is basically a Ret Reckoning Paladin. A Ret Reckoning Paladin has enough mana. Okay, damn it. What am I trying to say here? So Ret Reckoning Paladins in the all stats gear have, again, we're talking about the gearing revolution of Paladin here. Ret Reckoning has enough mana in the tank to basically be able to heal itself to full and engage in combat like 1 or 2 times, and like that's it. In the past, Ret Reckoning Paladins didn't have this 5,600, 5,800-ish mana bar to play with. They had the exact same amount of health. Okay, so let's just talk about the gearing revolution here. The thing that's changed from our experience in 2019 classic World of Warcraft Ret Reckoning to modern day era Ret Reckoning. Okay, let's just talk about what has changed. Okay, the answer is that we're getting to our HP breakpoints, and we're getting to our critical strike chance breakpoints. So, and then we have all these extra stats that are basically that are just basically causing us to have a mana bar for once in our life. So to give you an example, okay, so a 2019 Reckoning Paladin build would have, like, 5,600, 5,800 HP, somewhere around there. They would hit their HP breakpoint, right? Because you have to, otherwise you explode. It would hit its melee critical strike minimum. Your melee critical strike chance minimum for a Reckoning Paladin is 20%. You can see here this thing has like almost 21% melee crit. But then your mana bar would be like 3,000, 3,500 mana at best. And that's because you basically accomplished all this by wearing like warrior gear. Or you actually kind of had a mana bar. Maybe you had like 4,000 mana to your name, but you had like Avengers gear, 5 out of 5 Avengers gear. And your HP pool was like 5,400. But what the all stats gear basically does is it generally increases the totality of your stats and the totality of your combat capability by somewhere between 15 to 20%. And by the time you're done massaging the build with the rings and the neck piece and all that stuff, you hit your HP breakpoint, you hit your melee critical strike breakpoint, you hit your attack power breakpoint, and then the next thing you know, you just have this massive fucking mana bar to play with for the first time in your life. And I even asked Drakova back in the day, I was like, is it worth it to sacrifice this mana bar to gain another stats? And he basically said, hell no. He's like, I'm never going into combat without a 4,500 mana bar ever again. And I was like, okay, well, if Drakova's going to tell me that, I'll have to take it seriously. Basically, when you have a thicker mana bar, you just find places to use it to increase your combat capability, whereas before, it didn't really exist. I could go into detail of exactly where those advantages are. One that comes to mind would be you run at an enemy class like a shaman, you eat all their spell attacks to the face, but now you're physically on top of them as a Reckoning Paladin. You want to wreck bomb them out of existence, except this shaman only crit you 2 times, and you kind of really needed him to crit you 3 or 4 times in order for you to delete him out of existence. So now you're just in this really awkward scenario where you don't want to put your wreck bomb into him because it's not really going to do anything. But at the same time, you kind of still need to heal yourself. It's just a very awkward situation. With the super thick mana bar, you just kind of like, you just heal. No big deal whatsoever. No problem. Plenty of LOSing opportunities and healing in BGs. Other weird scenarios like that where you just have like a thicker mana bar to play with. On top of, Drakova's a big fan of popping Burrower Shell or Arena Grand Master Trinket, because when the shields are up, you're not going to suffer any spell pushback if you go to heal. He'll just pop that thing and just heal himself. He'd be like, oh, I'm fighting a warrior. The warrior used up all their rage. Cool, let me activate my 900 HP shield and just heal myself in this guy's fucking face. And the warrior's just like, I can't pummel because I have no rage, and I can't get rage because I can't generate rage off of hitting shield with auto at the fuck, right? And he just heals in their damn face. So you just find places to use the mana. So that's kind of the revolution that has taken place. It's not in our HP bar, even though we can have much thicker HP bars. If you're willing to sacrifice this mana bar, you can get this health bar up to like damn near like 6,000, 6,100 HP. If you're willing to sacrifice this mana bar, you can get this critical strike to well and truly above like 25%. You can get your attack power. You can get scarier and more lethal. But what we found, generally speaking, is the mana is where it's at. 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 So that's part of the gearing revolution. And what I can't remember is, was this build pre-Gearing Revolution or was this build post-Gearing Revolution? Because I'm sitting here looking at it post-Gearing Revolution mathematically, and I'm thinking to myself, it's looking really good, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So, a 4,600 mana bar. Let me just fix this really fast. Give me that talent point, put it over here. So, again, this is the gear that a Holy Reckoning Paladin would go into combat with. This is the gear that a Reckoning Paladin would go into combat with. This is the gear that any Paladin that you can possibly think of in the entire game wants to go into combat with. There aren't a lot of paladins that are unhappy with the all stats gear. In many cases, it's actually BIS, and a lot of reasons why it's BIS is because it actually has a pretty decently thick mana bar. On top of like all the additional stat bonuses and breakpoints and yada yada yada. What is there to say? Right. So I pointed out that the Holy Reckoning Paladin, they don't have the DPS to really kill things, but they have the durability to like grind people into pulp. On the opposite, that's one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, you have Reckoning, which has the durability and definitely the lethality to get the job done, but they basically have to kill their enemy in like 1 to 2 health bars. I would say about 2, about 2. They have about 2 health bars to get the job done, or it's just not going to happen, right? Whereas the Holy Reckoning Paladin, by contrast, they've got like 10 health bars. It's probably not that extreme. It's probably closer to like 6 health bars. This thing I think is going to be strangely in the middle. I think she's going to have somewhere closer to like, so the Reckoning Paladin has 2 health bars to get the job done. I think this thing is going to have 4 health bars to get the job done. And Holy Reckoning, by contrast, has like 6 health bars to get the job done. A Reckoning Paladin does do more damage because it does get deep enough into this tree to pick up the two-handed weapon specialization. It does have a 1 point in Vengeance. However, when a Reckoning Paladin hits you, I think they've got like a 90% chance to kill you when they're built properly. And they need that, right? Because they're only going to have enough survivability and enough mana to basically put like, they basically have like 1.5 rec bombs to get the job done. So that when they actually do put a full rec bomb into the target, they need it to be super dead, which is why they need like the rec bombs to have like a 90% lethality. This thing, I think, if we're Seal Twisting Command and Seal of Righteousness in conjunction with Eye for an Eye, this thing is going to have closer to a... I'm thinking she'll have like a 70%-ish lethality on the bomb against like a mage and most other targets. But she's going to have the durability to put multiple rec bombs into the target pretty consistently. I think it's going to work. And I think why this is going to work is due to the all stats gear. Yeah. Dogs are fighting over there over something. So that's one thing on my list that I definitely need to look into is the Heal Reckoning for Classic World of Warcraft, especially since we are living in the post-gear revolution for Paladin. Very interesting. The other thing that's super interesting about all this stuff... I'm just going to let them beat the crap out of each other. I don't care. Dogs are angry about something. Is the ranking system... So Blizzard, of course, has made ranking significantly easier in this new version of Classic World of Warcraft. And this is kind of a really big deal for Paladins for PvP. And one of the reasons for this is because Avengers is super easy to get. But until you get Avengers, just like, Marshals gear is absolutely insane and amazing. Because Marshals gear is all stats gear. Avengers gear is just a little bit better all stats gear than the Marshals gear. So it should become incredibly easy to gear your Paladin with the it being so easy to rank 14. One of the hardest things to get on your Paladin for PvP purposes is your two-handed weapon. The reason for this is because you're almost always healing in raid, whether you like it or not, and nobody really wants to give you a two-handed weapon when you're healing in raid. Soft reserve raids definitely help with you getting your two-handed weapon, but there are not a lot of good two-handed weapons that really fit into an all-stats gear Paladin all that well. Ashkandi's not all that great. The only one that's really good is the AQ40 weapon that everybody wants, which is the Dark Edge of Insanity. And then the other weapon that everybody wants is Might of Minithil. Not even Hand of Rag works all that well with the all stats gear, because Hand of Rag has so little. Let's click on this, because Hand of Rag has so little HP on it. However, the one weapon that is basically Might of Minithil light is the Grand Marshal weapons. The Grand Marshal's Claymore, the Grand Marshal's Axe, the Grand Marshal's Pummeler, even I think it's the Grand Marshal's Demolisher, the one that is like, stamina and intellect and all that good stuff. These weapons are basically Might of Minithils before you get Might of Minithil. Now, Might of Minithil, of course, is, the best two-handed weapon for Paladin in the entire game. However, the main reason why Might of Minithil is amazing for Reckoning Paladins is because of how thick she is in the stamina. Might of Minithil has 46 stamina on a 3.8 speed weapon, which is insane no matter how you cut it. But then you look at a Grand Marshal's like two-handed weapon, and it's got, 41 stamina on it. The Grand Marshal's two-hander, when you don't have Might of, is basically... It's basically the best two-handed weapon for the all-stats build, and the only thing you're replacing, or even considering replacing a Grand Marshal's two-hander with, is literally Might of Minithil or Dark Edge of Insanity. Yeah, Dark Edge of Insanity is right here. Thank you. Scroll down. Thank you very much. Dark Edge of Insanity. Dark Edge of Insanity, you'll notice that she has significantly less stamina than Might of Minithil or the Grand Marshals. However, she's got like that 19 agility, which is like, plus 1% critical strike. However, Grand Marshals also has a critical strike, so they're pretty much the same there. The thing about the Dark Edge of Insanity is she just does, what is that? Almost 10 more DPS just on the weapon, but she's a 3.5 speed, and yeah, she's got that proc on chance on hit effect, which is awesome. Especially since it's almost guaranteed to proc in a bomb if you're seal twisting Seal of Righteousness, because at that point in a full bomb this will have like 11 chances to proc in a full bomb. I take that back. I think it's 12. Yeah, it's 12 chances to proc in a full bomb because the Judgment is also a chance to proc. Basically there's 5 auto attacks, so that's 5 chances to proc. Then there's Seal of Righteousness times 5, so that's 10. And then Crusader, Judgment, Seal of Command has another chance to proc it. And then your Judgment of Righteousness or your Judgment of Command also has a chance to proc it. So 12 rolls of the dice to proc this bitch in a Wreck Bomb, which is awesome. We already know you can heal off it from the video with McConnell, blah, 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 right? Dark Edge of Insanity is the only thing even remotely worth considering to replace Grand Marshals with. And then, of course, Might of Minithil is just better than both of these put together. But what it does mean is that if you're running around if you never get a Dark Edge of Insanity and you never get a Might of Minithil, you're going to still be perfectly happy with a Grand Marshal's Cleaver. I mean, my bad, like a Grand Marshal's Claymore. Is it Demolisher? I want to find the one that has Intellect. Yeah. Wait, this isn't right. This is Season of Discovery. Fuck off. Scroll down. I was like, ooh, that's sexy. Yeah, it kind of ruins it for me. Grand Marshal's Sunderer. Yep, that's the thing we got right now. I want the one that has got the intellect. Okay, yeah, the Grand Marshal's Demolisher. 77, 28, 27. Increased damage and healing done by... This thing's always interesting. But yeah, the Claymore is basically just where it's at. Yeah, kind of stupid. The other awesome thing about the Grand Marshal weapons is you can very easily switch over to some really scary one-handers, like 2.9 speed one-handers with stamina and critical strike and attack power. Like what the fudge? But the really good stuff is the like healer weapons. So you're like, oh no, I need to heal. Let me switch over to this one-hander and this shield or something stupid like that. So yeah, a lot of weapon options. Let's go back to a Grand Marshal's Claymore, just for the sake of argument. Where's the view in 3D? No. I gotta scroll up. Yeah, okay, view in 3D. Yes, sir. Yeah, these shoulder pads right here. When you see Paladins running around these shoulder pads, they look like they got out of some random fucking dungeon, a pre-level 40. That's basically when you know you're with a Paladin that is absolutely not fucking around in Era. When I see these shoulder pads, I piss myself. I'm like, oh crap, there's a man. But when you see them like in a mix of these little golden bits, and then clearly they have some Avengers bits. Like if you hide helmet, you won't see the Avengers helmet anymore. This is the Paladin that people shit themselves on in Era. Except this would be a Might and Minithil typically, right? Anyways, super easy to hit your HP breakpoints and your damage breakpoints with a Grand Marshal's Claymore. And then the rest of the gear is super easy to get your hands on. Even if I were to swap out all these Avengers bits with Marshals, like really fast, let's just do that really quick. Yeah, we'll do the Marshals, and then I'm going to keep that on because there's actually some good bits there. Marshals, we need chest piece, Avengers, okay. Make sure we don't do Season of Discovery, and Marshals, we're missing boots, pauldrons, okay. I guess there's Marshals boots with the balls. Oh, I remember now, yeah. Marshals boots, and then pauldrons, roger that. Okay. So even if you're like 6-piece Avengers, this right here is like AQ40, right? I think except for the Cloak of Concentrated Hate. But instead of this cloak, you would probably use something else, whatever. I'll just keep it on there. I don't care all that much. You can still see you're looking at a paladin that is pretty effing terrifying. Ah, that's where it hurt, and that's why you take the Avengers gear. The melee crit went down significantly because we went away from the Avengers gear. I imagine my spell power is looking decidedly weaker as well. But you can see the HP is still unbelievably high. Like the HP breakpoint for phase 3 is like 5,400, 5,700 HP, 5,800 HP with the berries from Fellwood. Like fuck off, man. You got more than enough health to literally survive anything. That's right. This belt wouldn't be this belt. It would be a Crusader from Blackwing Lair. Girdle of the Fallen Crusader, Blackwing Lair. Yeah, it'd be something like this. Yeah, it's just so easy to gear your Paladin all stats gear if you have access to either Avengers or Marshals. Absolutely insane. The gearing revolution for Paladin is literally no joke. Yeah, my critical strike is falling even lower. This critical strike is fine for its era. It's not quite at the 20% you want it to be, but it's basically close enough. What else is there to say? Yeah, so this is on my list of things to test. And just looking at it, it's like, well, it's going to be super easy for me to get this gear in Classic World of Warcraft. So it'll suddenly become super easy for me to test it. So that's the first thing on my list to do. But I'm far more excited and interested for playing TBC. Because I didn't play TBC the last time around because Blizzard pissed me off so much with all the stupid shit they did. I basically boycotted TBC. I did a bunch of Paladin theory crafting testing and videos for TBC back in the day, but I never actually got to play them in TBC. So I'm far more interested in playing TBC, a Classic World of Warcraft, than I'm actually am in playing Classic. So that's basically what's going on with me. That's where I'm at with Classic WoW. Not super excited for Classic World of Warcraft because there's just nothing left for me to do on Paladin and Classic WoW. This is like the one last thing to do is to go see if this is the final form of Paladin PvP in Classic WoW. Can I make a build that is better than Holy Reckoning and better than Ret Reckoning? Is it Heal Rec? I do not know. Can the gearing revolution of Paladin push this thing over the edge and make it objectively superior to a Ret Reckoning Paladin? I don't know. And we're going to go find out, basically. So anyways, I'll end the video here, and Deus Volt. And I guess I'll see you guys when I see you guys. I don't know about trinkets on this thing. The trinkets are weird. I have Mark of the Chosen and Goblin Mortar. Mark of the Chosen is something that you use on Paladins. I don't know. She's weird. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's another build for this thing that drops eye for an eye, but I don't like that. That's a terrible idea. You can drop 2% crit and go with Pursuit of Justice and pick up like plus 70 HP from your boot enchants. But, I mean, you got to hit your critical strike breakpoints. I think I can't make this any better. Like, I literally can't make this any better. So, it is what it is. And, yeah, you take Kings because why not take Kings? And I didn't even factor that into the HP. Like, dear fucking God. Yeah. That's basically all I have to say about this. But, yeah, no, I'm tickled pink for something like this. Because look how easy this is to get, man. This is just, I rank to 14. I get my Grand Marshal's Claymore. It even has plus 25 agility on it because you want the critical strike. Get 6-piece Avengers. Oh, my bad. 6-piece Marshals. Get yourself a Dragon's Blood Cape. Yep. Get myself a nice Dragon's Blood Cape. Look at my HP shoot up. Look at my critical strike drop down. My hit chance is probably suffering at this point. Don Julio's ring, super easy to get your hands on. Ring of Reckoning, super easy to get your hands on. There's nothing here that is anywhere near outside of ease to gearing, and that's all thanks to basically how easy it is to get rank 14 gear. Even if you don't get to rank 14, but I highly suggest that you do, the only problem at that point is getting your hands on a decent two-handed weapon. Yeah, nope, got to go test this thing. So Paladin gearing in Classic World of Warcraft looking super, super good. Super, super good. I don't know about these damn trinkets, man. Holy crap. Goblin Mortar Net-O-Matic is the traditional one. Net-O-Matic. Yeah, the Gnomish Net-O-Matic. I'm not sure if I need Net-O-Matic. I'm not sure if I need Goblin Mortar. The problem with this thing is that she's a hybrid between a Holy Reckoning Paladin and a Ret Reckoning Paladin. And the trinkets that a Ret Reckoning Paladin would use are not the same as a Holy Reckoning Paladin. These trinkets are basically Holy Reckoning. A Ret Reckoning Paladin would use like a Reflector instead of Gnomish Net, but they would still use Goblin Mortar, or they would use a Tidal Charm in Goblin Mortar, or they would use a Burrower Shell in Goblin Mortar. You're almost never giving up your Goblin Mortar. They also like Arena Grand Master and, Goblin Mortar. You're never parting with Goblin Mortar. It just sits on you forever and a day. But yeah, maybe you just do Tidal Charm and Goblin Mortar because this thing could heal itself. I don't know, man. I think it's just going to work. I literally think this thing is just going to clap cheeks. I am aware the mana bar on this thing is terribly low. Like, 4,800 mana is really bad. In fact, with this build, this HP is way too effing high. I'm going to drop my critical strike probably even lower. And we're going to go with the Grand Marshal's Demolisher, just because it has mana on it. Yeah, Demolisher. Same damage, a little bit more plus healing, some MP5, but it's got plus 27 intellect. Yeah, I like that better. Picking up the intellect, but now my critical strike is terribly awfully low. I could switch out this. I don't need a massive neck piece HP pool. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, 5,000 mana seems comfy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to work on. Anyways, I'm rambling at this point. I'll end the video here, and Deus Volt, boys.